So
Oh
this is a
yes.
chart that has been going around for a few weeks. You might notice a certain meme image of the everything on fire and the dog saying "This is fine."
Yes.
Uh, so this so this is a uh, so this is from Fumetto Logica, which I'm not sure who they are. Uh, I'm guessing it's some sort of reporting firm about the
Mhm.
top comic publishers from 2020 to 2021. Um, Daniel, would you care to read off who the top four are?
Okay, number one is Shueisha, which is the Shonen Jump.
Yep.
Kodensha is number two. Uh, Kadokawa is oh here, let me.
Or did I accidentally close it?
Yeah, there, yeah, I accidentally closed it.
Oh, one
Uh,
second.
well, I've got it. It's in the Discord here. I'll just look at it.
Okay.
So, Kadokawa was three, and Shoga Kukan, Shoga Kukan, I think that's right. Is four, and then Cacao is five. So, but I think so. The top four, or at least the top four anyway, are all manga publishers.
Yep. Then we looked this up earlier. Kakao and Naver Corporation are both Korean conglomerates.
Right. And then, of course, at what, seven and eight?
Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
And then down below we have a couple of European comic makers.
Yeah, one
We
Media Participations is that's French, and then Panini Comics is Italian.
uh, we did look into these before we started just to make sure that we got that right.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't want to make assumptions.
Yes. Uh, Now, what's interesting about this is that, for one thing, you could take the smallest of these major manga producers, and they exceed Marvel plus DC.
Hmm.
And the picture may actually be worse now than uh, when this research covers for 2020 2021.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say yeah, it's much worse. I think.
Right? Because this has been presented in a lot of places. I've seen like Comics Perch, your boy Zach talk about it, other YouTubers, and no one ever really seems to have the context. They just want to talk about the numbers.
Hmm.
Um, these numbers have to be international because estimates
Yeah,
I saw from 2019 or so, 2020, were that all of comics in North America may be equal to billion a year.
yeah,
And we have multiple, we have the top three here: Shueisha, Kodansha, Kadokawa, each coming in at uh, $1 billion a piece. So that's got to be Japan sales, Europe sales, um, Latin America, Asia, etc.
yeah.
What's also interesting is that you have these Korean companies which have their free online or their free online webtoon and other platforms. They're mostly giving away the comics for free, but their revenue is still bigger than Marvel and DC.
Yeah, that's yeah. If I were Marvel and DC, I would be embarrassed by that.
Yep. It also kind of shows the stupidity of their approach to mostly focus on comic book shops
Hmm.
because it's clearly not a great distribution model anymore.
No, it's been faltering for the last 5 or 6 years now. I mean, it's a problem. They know it's a problem, but they haven't done anything to fix it, or even try to address it or anything. It's just
Weirdly enough, you know what? DC actually put a Batman comic up on Webtoons.
hmm.
It was like a slice of life Bat family type thing. Apparently, it was well received, though. How much that actually translated into money for DC. Who knows? But it's
Yeah.
advertising, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, So now, of course, there are a million videos saying, "Haha, manga is beating American comics. American comics are dead. Nanny, nanny, boo, boo."
Hmm.
Um, so I don't want to go from that perspective. I think that what this just shows is how distribution, how important that is, because so much of this up here is going to be like actually for these top six here, the Korean and Japanese companies. The majority of their income is digital at this point. Where
Hmm.
for American stuff, you're lucky if you hit 10% of your sales in digital.
Yeah. Yeah. The fact that they haven't that Marvel and DC or any of the other American comic book companies haven't tried to move towards digital more is like, it's not very good. It doesn't make good business sense.
Yeah, it does seem like they are handcuffed by the comic book shops because basically
Mhm.
they want to keep nice with them. So by and large, the digital comics cost as much as a physical comic. So it's like, why would you bother?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, this also tells me that there's an opportunity for these European comic companies to step up their game and get in there.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who probably don't know, there have been some successful, European comic book series. I mean, you had like Tintin,
Hmm.
um, which it was one of my mother's favorites, and you had like uh, Valerian and Laureline.
Asterisk the Gaul.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, there are plenty of you know European, European comic books that are, can have broader appeal.
Yep. In fact, it's kind of interesting when you think about it. If you add these two together, they equal DC Comics when they don't have billion-dollar movies coming out to
Right.
advertise them,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and a
It's.
very muted presence in North America. So
Mhm.
I think that the industry as a whole should be looking towards what these Japanese and Korean uh, companies are doing.
Yeah. 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 It would behoove them to do that. The question is, will they? And if they do, will it be in time to save the industry?
Right. I mean, it's of course people have been predicting the end of the comic book industry like clockwork on YouTube for a long time.
Hmm.
So I don't care to put a date on it
Yeah, I don't either.
because Lord knows we don't have the best record of predictions.
No, no, and I mean, it's the Warner Brothers, Discovery, and Disney are probably going to keep you know DC and Marvel respectively going for as long as they possibly can.
Right. Because it is a cash cow and it is profitable. So
Hmm. Yeah.
now what's funny is I watched a video where Perch was talking with his daughter about, do you like American comics? Do you like manga? What you didn't really like that Black Panther movie. What could they do to make you interested in Black Panther? It's like, oh, make it an anime. Was her response. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, we did just see how that Supergirl movie managed to make its way into the top 20 home releases without a theatrical release. So I think there's some logic there because
Yeah.
let's see here. Legion of Superheroes 2023. Let's see what the art style looks like on that one. Well, what do you know? Not quite anime, but not quite not anime either.
Yeah.
It looks actually like the same studio that did that Superman movie that they did a few years back, the one with Parasite and Lobo and
Oh yeah, Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah, Man of
Mm.
Tomorrow, and possibly that series they did with or that movie they did with Deathstroke. Like
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
line art looks the same. So you know, DC has figured out how to make anime. So it's just can they make an anime Can they make an actual series like this, and then make a comic book tie-in and make it so that they synergize with each other? Who knows?
Who know? Yeah, who knows? Yeah, that.
It is just kind of sad to realize, like when you just see the obvious way of approaching things sitting right in front of you,
Yeah,
and you just see people who are paid to know better than you not realizing that.
yeah, yeah. That's it's. Yeah, it's so frustrating. I mean, it because they, you know, they know that. I mean, they know there's a problem, and they don't. They either don't know how to solve it, or they know how to solve it, but they don't want to do it that way.
Right? That's hard.
Yeah, it's too hard.
I mean, when you have these characters that you grow up with and you kind of want to keep going in the same way,
Yeah,
it is kind of sad.
yeah, it is. Yeah, and you know, who knows where you know where the comic book industry will go. You know, I hope that smarter heads prevail and things do start to change.
Or they outsource it to Japan and Korea. I mean, that seems probable.
Yeah, that actually seems very likely.
I am actually kind of surprised that we haven't seen that yet, because um, actual manga production is relatively inexpensive
Yeah.
compared to the American stuff. So I'm kind of surprised that we've seen a few things with like Deadpool Samurai and a few Shueisha Marvel licensed manga,
Hmm.
but I'm kind of surprised that Warner Brothers or Disney hasn't tried to just set up a publishing house over there whose whole job is to make derivative works.
Yeah, that would make because that makes too much sense. That's why they haven't done it yet.
Oh, you're right. You're right. But anyways, on the outrage meter, this is roughly, it's not as outrageous as Roald Dahl because we're not talking about editing art, but
Right.
it's more of a shame than Saints Row underperforming, because I think Saints Row is as fun as and batshit as it was, is kind of something that may have had its time.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe so too. Yeah. Well, I think we've
We have thoroughly beaten that horse into the ground.